brand manager used to be quite, it's not, it was never easy, but it used to be quite a simplistic job. However, one day, the humans change. We change the way we buy and use products. So a brand manager's role has also changed vitally. So now we'll see about the changes. For example, the brand logo and image, as you can see, the evolution of the Coca-Cola image. In 1886, as we talked about at that time, people only want to differentiate between a different client, a different customer, a different brand to another one. So with that, you don't really need to have design or any other aspect. It just needs to be easy to read. In 1890, they hired some designer that made the logo quite difficult to read. In 1900, as you can see, it started to look similar to the now Coca-Cola nowadays. In 1905, it still looks like that. But as you can see, even though the logo has changed, but the look of the word Coca-Cola hasn't changed much over the years. But at the same time, the color that it associates itself is the red color. So it changes with the design, with the consumer, with the style and fashion in the design. So consumer have changed not only in terms of the design, the consumers, the brands now have become also representation of politics, what you stand for, not only the products. As you can see this advertisement. So Dove has always been, I think Dove is a popular brand in Vietnam as well. They have been doing all of their branding in terms of the feminist brand. As you can see, the Dove image, they don't try to make themselves into young looking women. They try to have diversity in their advertisement. You've got heavier women, skinny women, middle-aged women, young women. But most of the advertising and the voice that they're talking in is all about the softness, the feminine, the I understand you kind of a voice instead of the criticizing or the masculine voice. So Dove is one of those brands that have been very successful in choosing and maintaining their positioning and their message. So the concept, I've got to look at the time. We've still got some time. So the brand name is the name of your brand. Some people try to make the brand as recognizable as possible. For example, LG, Life's Good, is a very simple brand. But in terms of the chips, Lay's, I love Lay's, but it chose a different name in every country. Did you know that in Vietnam it's called Poca? I didn't know. I saw both Lay's and Poca in the supermarkets and I didn't know that they were one brand, for example, or Merino ice cream. They did the same exact thing. So you've got Tide, you've got Fiat, you've got, So the brand name should be unique, distinguished. It shouldn't be too generic. So in terms of Apple, it's a different story. They are horrible at naming their product because think about if you have a new company called Orange, and if you Google them, you will get most of the result coming back from the fruit, not the product. But it also it's just evidence of how amazing Apple was, that if you search Apple, you will reach the company, not the fruit, because they're amazing. I love Apple's advertising. Anyways, moving on. It should be unique, distinctive. Secondly, it should be extendable, which means that it could go with something else. It could evolve during the time. It shouldn't be only fixed in your period of time. It should be easy to pronounce, identify, and memorize. Okay, so I have this problem a lot with my clients. They always try to, get some fancy looking brand. One of the brand that I hated, I'm so sorry, but I hate you as a brand in Vietnam, is the real estate Tân Hoàng Minh. The reason was, number one, they always identify themselves as French, but they have absolutely nothing French about them. They've developed real estate, but it's not French. How's that French? Anyways, coming back. And because of that, they create this really long name for the projects that nobody can pronounce. They just know that French brand. But how are they going to search Google if you keep pronouncing, they have like 20 letters in their project name. Not only that, even if you buy a product there, what if one day, if it's functioning, I want to go take an Uber to that place? How am I going to tell my driver where to go? So they have these really weird names. And maybe that's why they're not selling very much. Their product that is most known for is the Decapital. Decapital. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. But, you know, it is their shortest name of a project. So yeah, that's a horrible brand name. It should be easy to pronounce, identified, and memorize. It should, oh, my Siri is acting. I'm not talking to you, Siri. Okay. It should be easily convertible into foreign languages. Another funny story. In Vietnam, if you are living in Vietnam, you probably have been familiar with a brand name of bus, the bus that takes people to different provinces. We have a brand of buses. I have never used them, but I've heard about them a lot, which is Phương Trang. And with Phương Trang, the interesting thing is when they first started to open their real estate business, pardon my French, they named their real estate project Puta. And if you speak Spanish, then you would know that it's not a good word. So they have all these websites, you know, the logos and everything, which is that word .vn something. And the new director was so traumatized, you know, that they have to rebrand everything because it's a really bad word in Spanish. So think about what it means in different languages and try to avoid those pitfalls, because you don't want to go into international markets with a really bad curse word as a name. It should be easy convertible to foreign languages. It should be capable of legal protection and registration. So in my case, before I name any company and business, I always have to Google search it. Are they available in other countries? Then I will have to go into the government's authority website to search for these companies, and then I'll consult with my lawyer before I choose on the whole branding. Okay? So the process of selecting and renowned successful brand name, blah, blah, let's not talk about that today. So the most important thing I want you to get away with today is brand positioning can be defined as an activity of creating a brand offer in such a manner that it occupies a distinctive place. That's why it's called position. So think about left, right, up, down, middle. So if you think about a middle position car, I would definitely think of Mazda or Toyota or Honda. If you think about higher level of positioning, I would think about Audi, Mercedes, Lexus. If you think about ultra high cars, I would think about Maserati, Lamborghini, Ferrari maybe, those, Bentley. So it has to be positional. It has to be placed somewhere. And think about the value it is in the target customer's mind. The position you choose for the brand will be influenced by the competitive stance you want to adopt. So if you are confident in yourself, you think that you are, you know, a little bit cocky and arrogant, you think you're better than everybody else, sure, take the top position. But remember, in that position, you will not be able to access and to be friendly enough for everyone. Does that hurt your business? You got to think about that. Then if you want to be the friendly neighbor, easy to access to the majority of people, take the middle position. But if you're selling something that is, you know, super cheap and you want to sell as much as possible, maybe positioning yourself even lower. It doesn't mean that the higher the position, the better. It has to be authentic to your product, your quality, your service, and the client you serve. All right. So you have a quality positioning where you position yourself high, mid, low. And again, you know, people keep saying good quality, but to be honest, does the best quality mean it's great? No. Remember that quality usually comes with cost. If you are willing to make a product that is the highest quality, it also means that you will need to spend the highest budget. And it usually means that not many people can afford that product. So if you are, for example, do you want to have a really high-tech, really luxurious ramen noodle? Probably not. A lot of people will want to have really cheap noodle because people who are buying ramen noodle and eating them on a regular basis, they don't have the time, the opportunity, or maybe the income to have a different kind of meal. And for that group of people, the cheaper brand, the cheaper brand, the more affordable version will be much better. Do you want to spend, for example, I love Korean ramen. I love their products, but Korean ramen cost about, I would say, $5. Vietnamese ramen costs 10 cents. So if you are a person who has to budget and who has to think about, eating ramen a lot, you probably will prefer buying the Vietnamese 10-cent ramen. And because even though I love the Korean ramen, I am not in a group that consumes ramen regularly. I eat one in every month probably. So that's why it has to come back to ultimately to the group you are trying to serve. What do they aspire? What kind of quality and what kind of pricing do they want? Mm-hmm. Yes, Ngọc is very, that's a good idea. It's not really how much you spend in the budget. If you're working in B2B, branding is not the number one thing on the list. You may need to have an eye for technology or logistics. Technology, not so much. Logistic, I completely agree. But you know what? That's a problem. You cannot differentiate branding from the product. If you're selling water tube, to be honest, I have sold water tubes, so I know what I'm talking about. If you're talking about water tubes, your biggest clients are going to be, your biggest clients are usually going to be real estate developers, and your smaller clients are going to be people who build houses. And with those people, they would use water tubes, which are installed inside the pipes, water tap pipes, inside of the walls. You actually need a really good brand in order to sell in that market, because people want to have a certain product that is reliable, that they don't want to have a problem. It breaks inside of the wall, and then you will have to deal with it. That's number one. Number two, branding is even more important in B2B marketing than B2C. You know why? Because B2B, you don't have a cloud of clients. B2C, you have hundreds, millions of clients. B2B, you have maybe 10, 20, maybe 100 clients. And because in B2B, people are spending more money per contract, it is usually company and company buying. So you need a lot of trust. Your brand is even more important in that case. So branding is not really just advertising. It's everything that you do in your company. I just want to stress that. I hope you can get this message now. Back to the idea of brand quality positioning. So quality. Secondly is a problem and solution. Problem and solution positioning can be a very powerful tool for marketers to use, because it addresses your audience problem and concern and provide a solution to them. The trick is to identify the pain points and find efficient and effective solution. So thirdly, position through celebrity endorsement. In Vietnam, I see a lot of people doing that. I'm not a fan of that way, but it is quite effective because people like to believe in what the famous people are using. So, for example, the world's most successful and profitable manufacturer of automobiles name is BMW. And they are very famous that most people know and trust their brand. They make their success because they have three good beginnings that position their brand as luxurious brand. And so in World War II, BMW products are engines that were provided to the Air Force. That is branding. They still get the money for that, but they brand themselves as the engine, the engineering that could help, the Air Force. How important is that? You think about the Formula One that I think is not going to happen in Hanoi this year, but the reason why companies do Formula One is not because you can sell these Formula One cars. It's a branding activity that they think that if you can make one of those super good engine safe cars for Formula One race, then maybe my family car is equally trustworthy because it's from the same brand. And in the 70s and 80s, the BMW became famous because of they're making cars instead of engines. One of the reasons, blah, 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 in the 80s, they were making cars for the young and rich and dynamic people who want to show off their car. And that is the situation background for the rise of BMW.